You're still watching Ways. Now, around the world, attacks on children continue unabated as warring parties flaunt one of the most basic rules of war, the protection of children. Now, the protracted nature of conflicts today is affecting the futures of the entire generation of children. Without access to education, a generation of children living in conflict will grow up without the skills they need to contribute to their countries and economies, exacerbating the already desperate situation for millions of children and their families. Now, a child's right to education cannot be safeguarded in conflict zones without education itself being protected. Education can be a lifesaver, and out-of-school children are easy targets of abuse, exploitation, and recruitment by armed forces and groups. Schools should provide a safe space where children can be protected from threats and crisis. It is also a critical step to breaking the circle of crisis and reduces the likelihood of future conflicts. This is why we celebrate International Day to Protect Education from Attack on the 9th of September. This is a very important holiday, and I'm really happy about it because every now and then you hear crisis here, left, right, and center, and who are the victims? Who are the people that have been attacked? Yeah. The children.
And they're in school as well. So for me, I'm so happy about this day because it is an awakening. It's a call to, the government, to NGOs, to individuals to rise up and tackle this menace of banditry. We find people going into schools to get the children out of the schools, even at night when they're supposed to be studying or sleeping. So that aspect of them being safe in school is eradicated. And who are we? Who are we supposed to protect? We're supposed to protect them from things like this. And Malcolm X said something: education is the passport to the future for tomorrow. And it belongs to those who prepare for it today. What are we preparing the children for tomorrow?
Absolutely. Alpha, you want to say something?
It calls a lot of attention.
Concerning this problem of security as it comes to education, honestly, I've grown to learn that everything that happens in life is a learning experience. And then with this scenario in mind, you notice that people from different sides of the world, people from different types of places undergo different educational regimens. There's some people that will actually not need certain types of education because they don't face the problems that we have here. So security, I understand it's not really supposed to be a thing that we're fighting with at the same time, but then it also gives us a heightened sense of awareness of what's going on.
Exactly.
So what we need to do personally is to just find a way to make it controlled.
Yeah. Absolutely. So on that note, what did you find for us in the news? Because I think it's tied to this International Day.
It's quite related. So in an interview, I found this from the Premium Times, Nigeria. An interview, it says in 11 years, 2,295 teachers were killed in northeast Nigeria. This was taken from the UNICEF chief. So to be very honest, I'm really not surprised. As appalling as this news may sound, I'm not surprised because how can something this troubling, this grave, happen for a time period of almost 11, that's almost my age, 11 years. It doesn't really make sense. So I analyzed it and I found out that it came with a cycle. So the death of these teachers now leads to more teachers becoming unproductive because what happens is that they become demoralized. They're like, if I'm going to school, I have no certainty that I'm going to actually come back home alive that particular day. So they become demoralized. Then when teachers are demoralized, they become unproductive. That leads to misinformed students. Because a student goes to a class knowing nothing about a particular concept, is looking to the teacher for guidance, to lean on the teacher. But then the teacher too is kind of shaky. So the students become misinformed. And then if they begin to fail their exams, it leads to dropouts. And then we now have people that are facing two problems: unemployment and then lack of education. So it's not those kind of people that will come and begin to have misinformed notions of what safety, education, security is supposed to be like. So they will now begin to kill even more teachers. So it's just
The circle
keeps going.
You know what just struck me with what he just said? He said something about having students who are misinformed and having individuals who are not educated. In Songotedo currently, we have the local government individuals or officials taking monies from what's it called, commuters. Then we also have the boys living around that area. That is, I don't want to call it toutism, let me not use that word, but they have now decided, okay, if you park your car around that axis, or you're passing that axis, or you're a commuter or a bus conductor, a bus driver, they come for you and they tell you to give them money. And what you're supposed to pay is 100 naira, or they break your windscreen. Now, this started from somewhere. It didn't just happen today. That is aside from the local government. Toutism, it has come to stay if we continue in this space. This is a sect of people around this vicinity. Now look at it from another perspective, that maybe people from Awoyaya now do the same thing. People from Lakwe now do the same thing. That means we are at war in our communities.
Keg of gunpowder.
Absolutely. So,
what did you find for us in the news, Isi?
You see, education is something that we should really take into cognizance. It's something that we need to, give paramount attention to, because that churns out the type of youth we are supposed to have, and that churns out the type of leaders we might have in the future. Absolutely. So, this was coined from the Punch, and it says, students' abduction in Nigeria's future under threat, UN tells the federal government. Now, the United Nations, resident and humanitarian coordinator for Nigeria, Dr. Edward Callan, has warned the federal government on the dangers of attacks on schools and abduction of students. What got me worried about this is that the government knows, and they know that this thing is a ripple effect. Look at what is currently happening in the north, and it has gradually started spreading, across border.
We have a lot of out-of-school children.
Out-of-school children.
Of insecurity.
People are scared, like he said, parents are even scared to take their children to the north to school, unlike when we were growing up and it was easy. They would say, oh, the farther the child, the better for everybody. That way the child will be independent. But in this case, you do not want a situation whereby you take your child to a given location and bandits or people who are not well brought up or
the funny thing is,
now decide to take the child's life.
This abduction of children from secondary school, I think it started like a joke.
Like a joke when it was being Brakal girls,
yes,
the Chibok girls.
It started like a joke. Was it? Which one happened first? Remember there was a Turkish international school where they went to abduct some children. Was that before Chibok?
No, Chibok was the first.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because there were other incidences that happened, but it was not. Chibok was the biggest.
Okay.
Do you understand in terms of numbers? But I know that there were pockets of abduction that happened.
And popularity.
Popularity.
Because funnily enough, the greatest organizations in the world today function in secret. So if the Chibok girls were actually put out there to the news, to the media, popularized by the entire set of people that we have right here, then that means there was a purpose for it. It was to divert attention from something that is even more important and then likely more dangerous. So in my own opinion, I feel like it's just...
That was the one that was popular.
Yeah, I feel like it's just made it popular. It's not really as...
Yeah, because they were kidnapping going on even before Chibok.
Exactly.
It's just that Chibok, yes,
was the one that
the world that drew the world attention. Yeah. Okay, so let me take my story because this is interesting. We have people in French families. All right, they said the French French government grants about 12,000 foreign frontline workers, citizenship. So these people, they've been working, these are like health workers, security guards, checkout assistants, and frontline workers. This was done in order to thank them for how far and their services that they have been rendering during this COVID-19 pandemic that they've been dealing with. So the junior interior minister in charge of citizenship, rather said over 16,000 people had applied for the French passport over the past year, and under a special scheme allowing workers in essential services to apply for citizenship after just 2 years in France. So instead of the usual 5 years living in France, just after 2 years, they'll be, so about 12,000 of them have become citizens, and they are now, they're amongst others of this employee, they're eligible for the scheme are garbage collectors, home caregivers, and nannies. So I'm sure that if Nigerians hear this one now, we move to France.
Next point of destination.
France. you know. But they said in 2020 they had granted about 61,371 people had gotten the French citizenship. So these things are actually real. So for the reason I actually drew out this story is our Loma players, the people that clean, the Loma workers, and the people from, how are we treating them? So whilst we are complaining that there is, brain drain in the medical field where doctors are leaving the country, this will start to happen because now people will see, okay, I think I'll be valued in a country like this if I'm taking out the garbage. Yeah. So we need to start to place value to every single person because everybody's role is important.
It's different, yes.
Yeah. I have a birthday shout out before we take a break. We have a birthday shout out today. Ademola, that's his name. Our director of life. Adewumi, yes. Happy birthday. He's an amazing person. I just
Fantastic man. Yeah. Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday. So we take a break now. Let's do the serious conversation because we're talking homosexuality. Stay with us, we'll be right back.